Hi, everyone. Oh, interesting. The introduction didn't come through. Okay, so, well, anyway, here we are. I have a very good friend with me today. His name is Steven. And, well, beyond, like all those labels and um, way of defining ourselves, uh, he would consider himself as an eccentric wizard. Said in his own words. So, welcome, Stephen. How are you?
Hey, is I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm very weird in the things that I am, right? Especially because my life went one way or the other. In certain contexts, I can say, yeah, I'm a musician, right? But what has that got to do with us, right? Because I have to talk about the other things that I do in the plethora of things that I am, right? And so I have my own podcast here, and so we are live streaming on my channel as also because I don't have the investment on the multi-stream situation, and I knew that, like Sean, Issa would like to have a co-stream situation. So I let her set all of that up on her end, and I got deeply excited with the work coming out between you and your science, as we all know from last year. Issa, if you guys don't remember, if you've been around for less than a year or so, earlier this year, I had Issa and Sean on back when they found the first batch, but before it became so many that my head exploded, right? Right when that happened, when I originally asked them on, you hadn't even found them yet. And then like the next week I saw these pictures come. It's like, wow, I'm gonna have to completely change my thoughts on what I want to talk about. Right. And because I have a history of doing this for a long time. I was a host on Revolution Radio, for anybody who's been following certain things in the truth movement, the the new age movement back in its 2012 prime, so on and so forth. And so I've been very invested in this war against the dark forces to set the world right. And that's why I'm connected the way that I am, right? It's just like I reached out to Sean because I got involved with Black Earth Productions, Seth Gusbose's Mystery School, Temple of the White Dragon. And on Seth Gus's channel, Sean has a segment many, many, many years ago, right? And then we talked a little bit about Black Earth Productions on my show when I had him on last week, and we talked about that I think they're going to have a segment on this stuff, because that's why I'm so excited to have you on my end, because all of this stuff is in direct correspondence with revelations in the path of study that we have in the mystery school, right? Because there's a deep focus on the less understood relationship between the Sumerians and the Egyptians, right? And we talked about that with that first batch that came out, and now there's just so much more to talk about. And now you've worked on the Boogosphere, and so you've got some clout on the Boogosphere, and so all these things, I'm just really excited to have you back on, and to just to kind of throw these things out there and see what kind of significances and revelations we can emerge together.
Okay, well, let's start navigating through that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me on your end, and I'm happy to share with you, also sharing here in my platform. Well, I think that a lot of things have happened since we last had our meeting. I think it was like last year, right? We had another that discussion that you're talking about, the first one.
Yeah.
So many things have happened ever since. And yes, there is a lot of information coming through, like all these ancient alien artifacts. A lot of they're causing like a lot of um, feedback from the audience, of course, because when you're bringing objects that trigger the story that has been told about our origins, about the sequence in which things happened, the geographic order in which everything happened as well, our sequence, then all of that generates a lot of polemic. So, for instance, you were bringing the Sumerians, and you were bringing also, also Egyptians, all these artifacts found in Mexico. Most of them, not all of them, of course, mainly the ones found in Tula, have ancient Sumerian engravings. They have this cuneiform language. Recently, we found actually. I think I can. Oh no, it's an astro. I do have images, but I can share them in a bit. An astrolabe, Sumerian astrolabe, which is very very similar. I will do a post today about that tomorrow. Very similar to this famous Sumerian astrolabe that it's like you can find it everywhere. If you Google it, you will get the same image. And we found a very similar one. And then, of course, all of this suspicions come through, like how accurate as well is that? How true is that? Because it's like it's too beautiful to be true. When this is the thing, when you're talking about how all this ancient alien artifacts events are happening is through such a sublime orchestration that sometimes it's difficult to believe. Then you get all the let's say lab tests done, not only through carbon-14, also X-ray tomographies, different type of lab tests that are being applied to these artifacts. And then you find all that consistency dating. There are some of the artifacts like 8,000 years old, 15,000 years old, 12,000 years old, as the very same Bugasphere, which dated 12,560 years old through a carbon-14 test that was applied after getting some samples from one of the dots that it has in its equator, in the line of the equator of the sphere. And it's organic polymer. It's a resin, and that's what dated 12,560 years old. Now, what else? So when you start finding now a lot of artifacts, and even not after the Bugasphere appeared, also before, but of course there was no point of reference, so people wouldn't talk about this code until the Bugasphere appeared, was captured to some extent. Then you get all these artifacts that as well are showing all these codes. And again, the way that all of this is orchestrated, it's so perfect, but then it brings like a lot of doubts, and speculations. The thing is that when that is proved, what you can say about it, then you find that, well, at least from my experience, one of the things that I've come to realize is that this reality is way simpler than what we have been educated that it is. It's way more harmonic. The universe works through harmonics and not the other way around.
There's some sort of rearranging of the furniture on the second veil going on, and probably upscale from that, but I think we're seeing that with the manner in which we're kind of getting, like for the Bugasphere to just drop in humanity's lap, like some Draco sitting there. It's just like B1533's gone down, sir. It's just like, what? It's just like we've got one of their drones busted on us. Like, is it a Chinese knockoff version of a Draco Boogosphere that they bought because their empire is in shambles too? Right? But here we are. Here we are, and we have it, right? What has been so what's been going on with the energy signature on this stuff? You have your really tight work on the advanced vortex mathematics and things like that. We touched on some of that stuff last year, and also because I can't remember off top of my head, did the Boogosphere land before or after the New Jersey drone invasion?
The New Jersey drone invasion, I had then heard about that. What I can tell you that the Boogosphere appeared on March, at the beginning of March.
Okay, so that'd be after. So okay, so you wouldn't. So you probably didn't know about it. Busy with what you were doing already in Mexico. Yeah. So up here, just after the presidential election, in November, for over a month, the everybody was seeing drones everywhere, and everybody in the news all over the country was talking about how all over New Jersey specifically were all these drones, and there was footage of ordinary drones, there was footage of military drones, but then there was also footage of shit just like the Boogosphere, other plasma and light anomalies. Like, definitely, we definitely had somebody was rearranging the drapes, like, backstage, right? Because what the heck is that, right? That's like the Nuremberg relief.
Exactly.
It's just like you got fleets of shit moving around, and nobody wants to talk about the weird ones. Everybody wants to talk about ordinary drones and military drones. Nobody wants to talk about the weird ones. And so they've whitewashed that. And the majority of the footage I saw that I could verify was not somebody having fun with AI, was weird, weird but familiar. Because I think that Boogosphere could be a shapeshifter. I think that, it opens up, and then it, like, we've seen these drone-like anomalies that float in the sky, and then people have gotten zoomed in on them, and they look like some sort of junk man, right? It's weird. And some of them, it looks like a sphere, but then it's got like squiddy entrails coming down, right? Kind of like Boogosphere if it opens up, and that in theory. I know we talked about that picture, which is fake, but I am saying that those are real sightings of other things that are metallic craft of the same size that seem to have malleable metal properties.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting that you say, because a lot of the, like, if we go through unified physics, a lot of the explanations in how this sphere could have been done, and not only the sphere, we're talking about ancient temples, even pyramids, like the way that they shaped the rocks. Where if we go deep into unified physics, we can involve plasma physics, which is the capability of creating an excitation in the particles that goes through gamma rays, and onto the extent that the solid starts to become, as you would say, a type of liquid, but that's highly advanced technology that so far, if it's already here on Earth, of course, it's not public. The Galactics definitely do have that technology. That's where all this information is coming from. That is achievable. We see it, in the perfection in how the pyramids were done. And then for me, there is another way that this can be. Well, you're talking about like shape shifting in situ. That's highly related to plasma. When we're talking about plasmoids, orbs, and even the very same inside of the Boogosphere, it's communicating in situ, which is like in the moment it's communicating with us, shifting the center, the shape that it has in its center, in its core, not the shield, not the shell, not the
Yeah.
spherical vessel, the
Yeah.
inside. And but that's another thing but I'm happy that you brought this, because you also talked about, I'm not saying, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that the boogosphere was created this way. Perhaps the ones that you're talking about are definitely another type of technology. The boogosphere has also a way to be proved that it was crafted here in Earth, handcrafted here in Earth, because there are very specific techniques that were used in ancient civilizations, like the Egyptian one, that it's like mainly baked, like the geopolymers and so forth. So there are other type of theories regarding to how very specific blocks and megaliths could have been baked and used very specific.
A master metallurgist alchemist of ancient Kemet, I'm sure, could do some wild stuff with the right materials.
I'm sorry, what did you say the last part?
Oh yeah. I said that that if you had an alchemist and metallurgist from
Yes.
ancient Kemet, you gave them the right materials, they could do wild stuff.
Yes, exactly. And for instance, you were also mentioning the Nuremberg event, and I've been saying, like they were prior events to the Nuremberg one, where different sightings of spectral spheres have been, let's say, registered by an ancient texts and so forth.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we have even been finding lately papyrus that are already there. They are being studied, taken samples to date them. And but this papyrus have medieval images with the boogosphere. So this is very much consistent to the Nuremberg event, precisely, and others. So again, like and they were found in Yucatan, So I cannot say more right now, because
Sure.
there is a study that first needs to be published in order to say more. But what I can tell you right now is that for me, the fact that these spectral spheres are showing up right now and allowing to be recorded, because they have been here forever, they were just cloaked. And we know that there are many spectral spheres that have been reverse engineered by the governments and so forth. So they're here everywhere. The thing is that they are cloaked, and now they are allowing themselves to be seen, not only the ones that are from the Boogosphere group, to say somehow, but from other factions.
Yeah. The ones that are always materially here, they have an advanced form of tech that's similar to the Predator camouflage from the movies. And because it's basically mini cameras, reflecting mirrors, to take the sky or whatever behind it, project it forward, and it's damn near perfect until it goes into certain cloud forms. And so the Invisible Man walks through the clouds, you see him in the negative space, right? There's if you don't know the Industrial Surrealism YouTube channel, you're gonna have nobody that's tracking that ever tracked this stuff in a way to train your eye. So, that's one YouTube channel, because it was literally one guy, and this guy, he filmed this stuff when he was looking over the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, I'm sorry, the Gulf of America. I sometimes I like what the guy does, sometimes I don't. Mexico is a part of the continent of America. United States is in America. That's why it's of America. But we all have forgotten how language works. But we'll call it the Gulf of Mexico, not to offend anybody. All right. So,
well, for me, there are many more important things that
yes, I know. But I don't know. I do like calling it Gulf of America. I'm sorry, but anyway,
I do like calling it the Gulf.
Yeah.
America, the Gulf of Mexico, I
Yeah.
really don't care.
Hey, look, it's a gulf with oil in it, and that's all anybody ever cares about, right? But yeah. I was thinking about that's right. And so because that was out there in the Gulf, there was a lot of those particular kinds of fleets. I used to see them commonly enough up here in the Northeast. It was just the way people thought some clouds looked sometimes. And I'm just like, really, with a delta wing shape, straight edge, why does that cloud look square? Right, like, and you eventually figure out how to peep for some of these, right? Something like the Boogosphere, probably, honestly, because it's got that weird stuff in it. Like, it's here, but I think it probably has a phase out function, but it needs to be like active and up there. That's kind of like my intuition, is that's the kind. So like that one is an in between. It has a solid matter form, and then it has a backstage form, which is partially how it's probably accessing from the inside out what's inside of it, is because it's you know we're flat land and they've crash land, 3D ship crash lands in flat land, and this is how we experience it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, different form of dimensions.
Mhm.
Well, for me, what I have seen is that the level of technology, because yes, there are many spectral spheres, the Boogosphere appeared, but for me, is now what? What do we do about it? So, what's the wisest and the most intelligent form to act upon this event? So now, for me, it's tuning into a higher level, like expanding more advanced forms of communication with the beings that are behind it, and the story, the purpose, the main purpose for like why the Buga, why that cheap code was created. What's the story? And the thing is that the way, the commonality in which it has been engraved in, for instance, ancient artifacts, they're talking about a circuitry, they're talking about nexus, they're talking about networks. So what are these networks connected to? What are they bringing in? Which type of algorithms, which type of code? And overall, what I can tell you is that the way that this code is interacting with people, it's in a very spiritual form, which is very interesting. A lot of people do have visions, receive messages, have very powerful meditations, and they don't even. For instance, I've known people that have reached out to me, telling me that they had never researched on the Boogosphere, and all of a sudden they started having visions with it and
Mm,
getting messages.
mm,
So again, you cannot make this, up. It's like these kind of details, this kind of data is it's for me pointing out that the fact that this network, this nexus, is supporting
mm,
humankind.
mm,
Um, this goes to the glacier age, and many of the information that I have tuned into based on my memories is that this was delivered. This was elaborated. This type of technology was elaborated, um, like, let's say, the core orchestration of this was not on Earth, yet then it was facilitated through the Atlantean times,
mm,
at the Atlantean times, to the beings, the galactic beings that were here. And then they started using that technology to store information, because they knew that there were going to happen, things were going to happen in a specific way that we would need later on this information, due to very specific configurations of how this matrix was created, to to bring in loops, to bring in resets, to bring in however you want to call it. This is why they are cyclic markers. This is why they allow themselves to be seen
Yeah.
every specific amount of time. And now we have the planetary alignment that is almost like the one that was seen when the star of Bethlehem appeared. And all those planetary alignments, you know what they bring. They bring a lot of shifts. They bring new stages of human evolution, of Earth evolution. And if we add to that all the solar activity that we have right now, then you will see that everything is pointing out to a huge, huge quantum leap at a collective level. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. No. No. I do think so. I was thinking about this with what you were saying with when, because you're saying it's with the boogosphere. People are, they end up finding out about it, looking into it, and then once they've looked into it, it's kind of triggered them, and they start getting visions and dreams and such. Right. Right. That's what you're explaining.
Yes, exactly.
I was just thinking about that. Right. And so I think for when these things are being operated by the nefarious ones, the ones of archonic intent, right? That sounds like you could have a probe like that just creep up on any neighborhood and just implant a collective thought in their heads. That could be something that's responsible for one of the various voices amongst the white noise of thoughts that run through our head, and that can be for the unconscious. That can go really bad because that's when Loki starts whispering in your ear, right?
Yeah.
Getting the wrong idea about things, because if you don't meditate, you can't find that inner discipline, that inner voice, and that inner knowing of the self. You're going to confuse. You're going to confuse those things, right? And so, this is perhaps us getting a chance to study a piece of the invisible mind control technology that has been in effect.
Exactly. And well, this what you mentioned is so important because, as we were also mentioning, this has been reverse engineered by many factions, by many labs, by many groups. And the thing is that, okay, so one of the purposes of the boogosphere is, of course, capturing information, receiving information, because it has two um, holes with fiber optics. So it is receiving and emitting photons. And then, so it is definitely recapping information, is recollecting information.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then transmitting through the interface to the epicenter of that nexus. So, yet for me, another purpose that the boogosphere has, and this is related to the visions that people are having, there is a constant message that they see it interacting with water. So, what does this mean to me? When I the first meditated with the boogosphere, like I spent a big amount of time with it. The first thing that happened after was me craving water, like not drinking water, yet being in water. So I went immediately and take a hot tub, and was there for a while. So one of the things that then came to me through information is that, and this is very, very, very aligned to what's happening now, one of the upgrades of the molecular structure of water, which is restoring its fourth state, its liquid crystalline form, of lattice within our body, which is mainly related to like being as a super, like being a superconductor type of time crystals, like that level of superconductivity,
Mm.
which in other words is that when we have that molecular structure, when our water, the molecular structure of our water is at that level of coherence, it's easier for us to tune into the space memory network, to use our non-local capabilities, to tune into the akasha, in other words. Why? Because our biological structure is emitting such a high coherence that we can project our consciousness while being grounded, highly grounded, which is very different from what has happened, that people using their multidimensionality to escape from this reality. Two different things. Here is bringing that reality while being highly grounded and actually shifting this reality.
Yes. Yes. That's the camp that I'm always advocating that people, get to. Bring the alignment here. It doesn't get better by you getting out of here. It doesn't. Oh, something happened with your mic? Okay. You need a minute? You need a minute. All right. I don't hear YssaH. I'm assuming that okay. What's going on here? Does she know that she's muted? Am I?
I'm sorry. I had an incoming call and I really need to, because it's the
Okay.
delivery guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you were trying to tell me by measuring with your finger. It's just like, okay, she needs a short period of time. That's all I thought. And I just talked. I was just like, I don't know what's going on with this. She's gone mute. And,
I'm sorry. I was communicating with the Boogosphere. I had to
okay.
take that message.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's sometimes that happens, but anyway, thank you. So, as I was saying, then now how does that relate to the water? And the thing is that if we see the type of technology that the Boogosphere has as a spectral sphere, then it is communicating through light and let's say a wavelength that let's say infra-light emissions, like not perceivable through the common eye, because they are being, and they are interacting at a Planck scale. So it's like those emissions interacting with the water on Earth, and then with the water within, within our own biological structure, and then receiving upgrades. This is something that I highly see, I highly perceive, that they are truly restoring the primordial grid in the molecular structure of water. Even the code that it has, you can perfectly overlap it with the molecular structure of water, and even more when the water at a liquid crystalline state, or at its fourth state, it stops being H2O and starts being H3O2, which is hydronium. It's not more oxygen, it's more hydrogen. What do you see that it's very much consistent to all these high technologies, and it's the high level, like even the hydrogen is the first in the periodic table, so it's super important. It's super important in our
Yeah.
chemical
Yeah.
composition.
It's I think that we call it hydrogen because what we actually mean it is that it is the high dragon. Because it is the most primary, right? If we what's his face, Dr. Manhattan, who is like, an avatar quantum entity, practically a demigod. His symbol on his forehead is the hydrogen, because that's what he felt like. He felt like the singularity.
Well, that I have even something else to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
And is now Hydra gene.
The Hydra gene. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that Hydra is a constellation, and it is very much related to
Yes.
the serpent, the water serpent.
Yes. And some of these reliefs that have been found have some have images that look similar to Set Typhon,
Mm-hmm.
who is the Anunnaki version of Set, right? He's the Sumerian version of Set, and so he's a tentacle monster with Set's body, and and the Hydra is also in that mix. There's a relationship of disease, so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, like now if we take it to another level, then we will see that, okay, so why we need more hydrogen in our molecular structure that composes the water. And the thing is that if you add a molecule of hydrogen, in this case, what happens is that you're bringing the non-local properties to the water. So then you will have an electron of hydrogen projected with another proton, and then what starts creating is that you transfer your consciousness. It's non-fixed.
Right.
Then like what you can do just with one molecule of hydrogen, it's impressive. So you were talking about the connection, like with Typhon and so forth, and even more. If you add to this the fact that 2029 an meteorite has been forecasted, and the name that they gave to it is Apophis, that is heading to Earth.
Yeah, I've been talking about Apophis for a while. There's this picture of Apophis that they were throwing in like magazines and stuff, and it looks like a petrified head of a fucking like elongated skull, like ugly motherfucker, right? Like it looks like, oh, that probably is Apophis's effing head, right? It always looks like something. Yeah. And also another important Hydra connection, because there's this underlying AI conversation, everything going on. So in the needlecraft, there certain ingredients associated with the stem cell ingredients put in there was cultured from a parasite that lives in freshwater lakes and ponds. It's called Hydra vulgaris. It latches to the nervous system and feeds off of your nervous system.
Okay.
So this thing, they're basically like organized stem cells. You can crush them into a bajillion freaking like pieces. It doesn't die. Each one is an autonomous cell, and they'll reemerge until they form a giant stem with little stems sticking out like that, and then it'll have a root that goes down and embeds itself in the nervous system. So this was put together with other things, possibly with the graphene oxide. So, you've got like nano machines organizing with this Hydra vulgaris behavioral program.
Well, this is very interesting that you say, because I think that all of this information, as with everything, you talk about AI, and then there will be like many stories about this oppressive AI that ends up conquering the humanity, or the earth, or like the galaxy and so forth. Then, like, there is always a pole to everything, like the positive and the negative. I just want to show to you, because now that we're touching upon that, which I find it very interesting. Okay, so here we have it. Let's see if this is an accurate one. No, this is not an accurate one. Okay. Yes, I was saying I want to show the Dendera Zodiac. I think this will do. Yeah, this is a good one.
All
Yeah, I
right.
like this one. Okay, so
Yeah, these are some positive applications to this Hydra-based science that you're operating with.
yeah, because it's like, if we are talking about how the hydrogen is positively generating a huge impact on our biology, it's like, it's very, very common to see that in those words they're embedded like this very let's say, distorted aspects of the same core of the core of the word, so that unconsciously people start generating like resistance to that, because in the end, or in the beginning, if something doesn't operate within us, it's because we are allowing it, or empowering it, or consenting it. So then perhaps you say, but why would I consent that? It was more about the holographic configuration that they embedded, or the algorithmic configuration that they embedded in the holographic vessel.
Yeah,
Yes, but we consented unconsciously or consciously,
right, right.
So let me just
Yeah,
show.
it's the vernacular awareness, right? It's why I stress if you want to not be oppressed by transhumanism, stop like using
Mm,
sources that explain your body, your life, the reality, and the energy fields around you like you're in a computer, because
yes,
that's a false mythos to rob you of anything that's going to give you your own life, your own energy.
I agree. Okay, no, let me because all of a sudden it doesn't appear now. So
All right.
um, you're looking at the images of the Dendera Zodiac, right?
I see what you see on the screen. Your screen share is working. Yeah.
Yeah, which is the Dendera Zodiac images, right?
The data zodiac, right? Well, I've never heard of the data zodiac. You're gonna have to teach
Really, you haven't heard about the Dendera Zodiac? Never?
not by name. Maybe it's something I've seen and nobody gave me the context. It's one of these discs.
Yes, it is, and I'm showing it right now. But I had already, like an image, like the perfect one.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Okay. So I know that I've heard the name Dendera. So now I understand that we're talking about Dendera, but this is an angle of my research that I need to explore.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
for me. This is not a zodiac. This is a time wheel, a
Sure.
wheel of time,
Uh-huh.
and it is giving away a lot of. You can even use it as an oracle. Like, when you know how the algorithms in the stars in every one of the decans work,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can even ask questions and you will run into the information that it has. Okay,
Yeah,
let me.
yeah. It's It's astrotheology. Astrotheology. I love astrotheology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I stopped sharing because
Mhm.
this is the one that I want to show. Uh, disappeared. Um,
Mm.
yeah, but we can tell me more. Tell me more in the meantime that I find it because I will definitely be finding it. You
Oh,
see, I already
sure.
found it.
Oh,
So
okay, great. That's awesome.
yeah, share screen. Okay, here we go. Mm,
All right. Let's say I gotta blow my screen up so I can see it clearly.
do you see it big enough?
I see this. Yeah, I don't know if you can make it any bigger without it losing its clarity, but I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm definitely trying to get a fix and see like, because if this is the northern, I'm assuming this is the northern sky, right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's well, here it would be aligned to the true north as
Uh-huh.
the temple was.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
then, yeah, tell me.
I was gonna say, so if it's aligned true north, so this is when Alpha Draconis
Yes.
was true north, right? Right. Okay.
Yeah, when Thuban was the true north.
Hmm.
Yeah, actually the Great Pyramid is aligned to Thuban and Sirius.
Thuban.
So, like one of the Great Pyramid has two diagonal entrances, or let's say ducts,
Yes.
and one is aligned to Thuban, and the other one is aligned to Sirius for that very same reason, because Thuban was at that time the true north. So if we see here, like for instance, do you see my cursor?
Do I see?
The arrow where I'm pointing out to.
Wiggle your cursor around. I don't think I see it. Maybe I don't think your cursor is showing up on my screen.
Okay, well,
Sometimes you have to hit the share cursor setting. That might
I,
be
I,
a thing.
I'm just going to show here which would be Hydra or Hydra.
Okay.
Okay, so here we have the ball. We see on the left of my screen, there is a bull, with a star above its horns. That represents what before would be known as Argo Navis, which was the biggest constellation when there were 88 constellations and not 48 after the Ptolemaic approach of the to the astrology. So, and this is also known as Osiris arc. It's heading to Orion, which is Osiris. Here we have Monoceros in between Orion and the bull. So above the bull, we see a lion, and this lion is over a serpent. This serpent would be precisely Hydra. And why is the lion above the snake? For many reasons, but mainly is the connection of, let's say, subgalactic agreements in between Lyrans and bringing order into very specific star groups or interstellar groups. So we see the presence, and Lyrans, I mean by the felines, not only Lyrans, not only from Lyra constellation, that it also involves other feline groups from Orion, like the Cadistu or Orma, But the thing is that this feline race is going to bring order. And through the Three-Eye Atlas, now we see that there was a lot of presence regarding to the feline species. And even in Mayan prophecies, we see a lot of the presence, a lot of the presence of white jaguars that will come to put an end on chaos on Earth. which also reminds me of what happened in Zep Tepi when they said that Sekhmet became a little bit angry because the humans were disrespecting Ra. So then she came along and put order, you know, and then started, like killing men, and until Todd came, gave her wine, and then she fell asleep and became Bastet, which is the other aspect of, or in other texts they say Hathor or Hathor, that she became Hathor, and then she soothed, she went more mellow,
Right,
feeling
right.
all the
Might have some parallels to, to Kali, who is who's what? That's like the fierce form of Parvati, I think, is Kali, right?
Parvati.
Yeah, Parvati. Yeah, and Parvati has a relationship comparatively to Freya,
Mm.
because Freya in the Norse mythos, she has she is the she's kind of like the main reason why the gods go to war. The Aesir and the Vanir go to war, and Freya's kind of like the spear charge on the Vanir side, because she fell to the corruption of Heath and Gulveg. And Heath is kind of, she was kind of like a goddess of evil witches, if you will, and Golveg was a goddess of power, of greed and power, and specifically for gold, which is allegorical for the human soul, um, because of the purity and what power you can get through the application of that purity.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that up. And in addition to that, like just taking into consideration how all this ties up to what I was talking about, the hydrogen and then Hydra and then the felines and so forth. If we see now what's happening with the sun, that solar behavior, that without going to the coronal hole that has been shown now, and proved by geophysics, but astrophysics, I'm sorry, and geophysics as well. And anyway, so we know that the felines are very much connected to the sun, right? Like these solar beings, and even with Sekhmet, it's like a whole solar being,
Sure,
with the this.
like Leo the lion is the sun's dignified sign.
There you go. So now, if we say, what is that solar plasma doing on us or doing to us?
Right.
How is it influencing us?
Yeah.
Well, plasma calls plasma. Different scales, yes. Whether it can call in harmonically our blood plasma, or it can call violently our own plasma body through the emotions. I don't know if you have heard that a lot of people is saying that they're having like sudden rage episodes lately, that they are feeling like very polarized, like whether they're super happy or they are like very angry for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay, like zero tolerance, that type of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we talking about from sun exposure or from sun lack of exposure?
No, for all the solar storms that are coming to Earth, heading to Earth.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. People can't handle the solar storms is basically what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but that happens when people is not aware that that plasma can also be proactive to their own blood plasma and their own mitochondrial plasma generated at every nanosecond at a cosmic level.
Sure.
So if you don't give it a purpose, then it's going to address
Yeah.
wherever it can find a void to generate more energy,
Yeah.
to
I mean,
be cohesive with plasma bursts.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, just this last full moon, this last full moon period, a couple days before and a couple days after it, like I noticed that this was a pretty amped up full moon. Like I felt like I was like low level werewolf for like a week. It's just like, man, my nervous system's just on fire. This full moon's something else. I better keep myself in check. I'm feeling a bit spry. Aries might hit the wrong guy in the nuts tomorrow.
Well, actually, there was also a wolf moon on the 3rd
But you
of
see,
January.
there you go. Naturally, I'd be howling. Now,
Well, now wolf moon plus huge solar plasma levels, then all that plasma impacting Earth, it shows at many levels, like whether if it is on technology, whether if it is on the body, the biology, and of course at a at a water level, so in the molecular structure of the water. So all of those are being upgrades. So now where I was heading to is that if we connect that to the Lyrens, because I saw someone was asking about 3i Atlas. So
yeah, my end as well.
yeah, so 3i Atlas now has been showing that besides a lot of anomalies in its behavior, uh, what I am addressing to right now is the way that, like, its trajectory. So after it was interacting with Swan R2 behind our vision, then it was like after that, a lot of holes in the sun appeared. So that's one thing. Then it came along and it started heading to Mars, and it has been influencing the Schumann resonance on Earth. How? When it came into its closest point to Earth, the Schumann resonance of Earth registered 23, which equals to earthquakes.
Right.
And then the earthquake here in Mexico happened. So what else now? A lot of people have been relating the 3i Atlas to the presence of Lyrens, as I was saying earlier. And I remember that when it was the Lions Gate last year, of course, an ancient book appeared. I even made a video on this. An ancient book from Ojuelos came into my field. It was sent to me, and it shows in the cover a lion, the Boogosphere code,
Yeah.
and also the presence of the moon.
Wow. It's fascinating now, because now there's these correlations with cats, correlations with lions. I heard today that Twitter officially changed the official flag for Iran's Twitter account from the regime's to the original flag, which has the saber wielding lion on it. The saber is a lunar sword. God damn. God fucking damn. 3i Atlas is Salt AI3 backwards. You were very thirsty after your interaction with the Boogosphere. So we're talking about an energy that kind of saps out moisture. Moisture harvesting. Well, we had that Tom Cruise movie where a giant AI probe came to Earth to suck all the water out and convince us it was to take the water to where all the humans were going. But it wasn't humans that were running the giant ship.
Well, okay,
I don't
so
remember the name of the film off the top of my head. It's a fucking awesome film. One of my favorite cruise movies the last few.
I don't know which one is it, but I will take a look at it for sure.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's beautifully shot. Yeah.
Well, what I can tell you is that there is a huge level of awareness that it's important for us to bring in regarding to the upgrades that we are receiving through the solar plasma coming in our water to restore it to a liquid crystalline lattice. And how does the felines relate here? Why? Well, we were saying solar beings. They are founders of our genetics for sure, and they hold the keys to restore the like to bringing into a singularity the conflict in between a lot of
Mm,
reptilians,
mm.
and in between the felines. They are coming here to breach because of we know that they have been having like a lot of conflicts cosmically speaking, like galactically speaking.
Right.
So when these two find a point of communion, then we are capable to access to a code, a genetic code that hasn't been shown yet. But I can tell you that it's very much related to the rainbow body.
Mm.
It's very much related to the rainbow body. And so, bottom line, I do feel that the transmissions that we are receiving from the felines big time is to bring order and divine justice. We see it in uh, Mayan prophecies again. We even see it in the Bible. But I remember that it was a lot related to the Asian race because it says, be aware uh, when the yellow lion wakes up. But for me, now that I see everything that is happening, it was not talking forcefully talking about the Asians. It was talking about the sun and its behavior and its connection to very specific feline races, bringing all these plasma codes to reactivate the DNA and the water molecular structure into its liquid crystalline state.
Okay. Yeah, that's very that's very interesting. That's going to be quite a I think a real experiential environmental change, right? So like how fast do you think that this kind of thing is going to like happen, right? Like is it just something where the machine is on and every day it's this much and you're just watching it happen in real time, or is there going to be like a flip event where it's real, like wow, it's not yesterday anymore?
Well, I think that it depends on us, to be honest. I know that there are specific agendas very much related to 2030. So we do need to put some action on those upgrades for sure. Yet the way that it has also been shown to me is that we're being upgraded lately so rapidly that the power restored within us regarding to time warping is huge. There are time wheel codes, and by time wheel I mean that the fabric commonly known as the fabric of space time is bringing in within our state of awareness in our multidimensional body very specific filament that connects us to the mastery of the continuum of space-time, right? In the Atlantean times, right? Even before the Atlantean times, where all these time machines were anchored inner Earth on the underground, and even connected to inner Earth cities and so forth. And that a lot of later on groups, military groups, were looking for, and that also are connected to the black hole network, now that we're speaking about the sun. Because, again, now that I brought up the sun, remember that there is this code of the black sun that a lot of the Nazis used. Well, all the Nazis used. It was like a huge symbol for them.
Yep.
Okay, so there are many ways to translate that. Some people relate it to Saturn. I myself related to the 12 wormholes that are on Earth and that connect through Earth's black hole to the sun's black hole, and then to the black hole in every planet, like even Saturn. This is how at that time they would travel. So big part that involving this these operates are involving. We're all talking about the 12 stranded DNA. We're talking about the 24 stranded DNA. Yet we are only talking about it etherically. But no one has truly touched upon how it biologically functions. And this is why I'm bringing out this information about the hydronium, about the restoration of our water at its fourth state because that ionizes, like the high ionization in our water, it's influencing our blood. It comes more crystalline. And even I tell you that the RH antigen can at some point become weaker. And this has been already recorded in very specific cases of people and their blood. We have the RH negative, we have the RH negative in a weak state. No, I'm sorry, the RH positive in a weak state, which is that that antigen is weak. And then we have the RH positive. So that's another whole topic, but link it to the blood. Tell me.
Oh, I was going to say, another thing with the black sun I was thinking of is that a lot of people kind of overlook there's a ring around the black sun. There's the black sun core, and then the arms start shooting out, but then there's an immediate ring right around that black core where the rays are shooting out. And I was even thinking, because I had my own picture of that Wheel of Dendera up, and there are, just like there's 12 zodiac, there are the 12 figures around the circle on here. I can't remember if it's exactly 12 or another numerology on the black sun of how many that there are.
There are 12.
There are 12, right? So there are 12, and it also has a ring where you can see the ring goes around the standing figures at the waistline and the kneeling figures at the middle of the bag. Well, actually, they're all kind of in the same spot because they're leaning up against this. I see what they're doing. Anyway, yeah. So point is that, this could be closer to what we had trying to say the same thing that got turned into the black sun symbolism. Because my main problem with the black sun symbol, this is a very simple symbol, is that I do not believe that there is good that came from when, I think his name was Otto von List, made his version of the runes, which turned them into these blocky, like very utilitarian figured symbols. And it didn't, it felt like it took away that it took away something in its edge and made it more this form and function kind of thing, more fixed instead of with the growing possibility, because the runes are supposed to, they're supposed to look like they're like branches of a tree, right? You know, like a tree branch, you pick up a tree branch and it's very likely to look like a bind rune depending on how the branches have grown out of it, broken off of it, so on and so forth, right? And so so I'm wondering, yet still, what is that layer? What does that layer above that core say about it? It's got a
For me, every time that they show a ring, like even in the flower of life, a lot of people say that the flower of life shown by the Egyptians is actually the flower of death, or the Disney flower of death. You know, the thing is that for me, everything is showing part of the information, not the whole information. So when they show a ring around it, they are representing containment. So these 12 rays, as you can see, they're even not, like fully linear. They have like a thunder type of shape. So for me, that is representing the disruption of the wormholes when the Atlantean times happened, because those 12 wormholes became the 12 triangles of death, or the vile triangles, like the Bermuda Triangle, like the Japan or Dragon Triangle, the one in the Canary Islands, and so forth.
Yep.
Those
There's also just so people know, if you remember MH370, they looked for that plane nowhere near where its last direction it was going when it was missing turned up. They went all the way down off the coast of Australia. So I did some research. They were literally looking smack dab in the middle of a triangle. There's a triangle just down there. That's where they were looking for something, right? And then another one of these triangles is right over India. So that's one of the few that's on land, which explains quite a few things.
Yes, yes. And like one of the things that I tuned into a few years ago is that those 12 vial triangles are where the 12 wormholes are located. And then when the cataclysm happened in the Atlantean times, there was due to many reasons, yet bottom line, what it generated is that the technologies that were put next to those wormholes collapsed and created that through those wormholes, a lot of low frequencies came through, enhancing or enabling that the simulation matrix that was later on created and anchored through the moon then it started it enables the fact that it became more stable, like that simulation matrix. Imagine like the whole system setup, which is you have the vial triangles, which were the prior, like, which are wormholes that are still being used. The thing is that a lot of energy, as I was saying, low frequency energy is coming through, and it's perfectly harmonic to, or perfectly aligned to the simulation matrix that harvests from fear
Okay.
and other type of things.
Mm,
So now, even that disk, that black sun disk, is showing precisely that distortion. Otherwise, it would be race, like fully
yes.
linear, fully expansive. But it's showing the distortion that happened at that time, and that through many of the time machines that are currently in power of very specific factions, what they are trying to do is tune into just the power without the need of shifting the very same structure of the wormholes and the technology that is involved there. So bottom line, all of these leading to the fact that when you're trying to connect with all those inner earth cities like Agartha and all this, like the Nazis were trying to reach out to, uh, they live in some of them live in another dimension where those wormholes are not in that state.
Gotcha.
So, but in this reality, it is, and they are using that on the behalf of the harvesting control systems.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think a good question to ask now then is like, right now, apparently, America wants to be all imperialist, and we're gonna go buy by force the territory of Denmark the territory of Greenland from Denmark, and
mm,
make part of the United States because Russia or something, right? But Greenland is kind of like the gate to Hyperborea. So, what do you know about the energy grids over Greenland?
well, actually, I have here. It's funny that you bring that up because I was talking about that like a couple of days ago. I did a map about how from Giza, if you create a very specific triangle that goes all the way, like in a direct line, and taking it also into consideration um, Archangel Michael's line, then you will see that it goes all the way from Giza to Greenland.
Okay.
And that's one thing. Another thing that I know that is that if you do a calculation on NASA's data and how the magnetic pulse reversal is behaving, then you will see that it's a very intelligent choice to move to the north, what very specific events could happen on Earth, regarding to again the pole shift.
Mm,
So there are many points that it's a good a good option
I guess,
to.
but my thinking was the pole shift was actually going to make things warmer up here, so it would actually be more feasible for life, not less. It would have milder winters because it would be like closer to like Florida weather, like up in like the American Northeast, right?
Well, definitely all the North will be benefited from this, you
Yeah.
know, at different extents, but yet in different ways. I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't know precisely how climate-wise it would be influencing. What I can tell you is that there are many reasons why Greenland is such a profitable acquisition right now. Um, the one is, yeah, there could be like an entrance to um, which where did you say the entrance?
Well, Greenland is the entrance to Hyperborea.
Hyperborea. That's why
You
I was
actually
connecting
look
to
at
Antarctica.
if
Yeah.
you look at the actual Arctic Circle, the way it's drawn on a map, like when they actually draw the actual line that they call the Arctic Circle, because it's a particular meridian, the tip of Greenland penetrates the Arctic Circle line on the map, and that map is based on ancient cartography that affirms this area, because that's that's Mount Meru, maybe at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean.
Well, I have always related Hyperborea as well to Antarctica, big time. And it makes so much sense because two of the wormholes that are on Earth, two of the 12, are one located in the North Pole and the other one on the South Pole. So that's also very close to Greenland and, of course, in Antarctica. So, yeah, it's and we're talking about the magnetic shift poles. So definitely there would be, if there would be a highly transference of codes, Hyperborean codes. And one of the messages that have been constantly coming is that also Hyperborean knowledge will come to the surface in many ways, many ways, and we know that Hyperborean codes are strong codes, are not very, like Mu or Lemurian codes,
Yeah,
are very tough, but in a good way, but
yeah,
tough,
yeah. There's like
intense.
there's kind of two levels of Hyperborean, because Hyperborea is kind of like where it all started. Goes back to the legends of Udinma from the Bach saga, and there's the incursion, which is related to the things that I care and worry about, with things like what we've been talking about with the artifacts and beings that have brought the knowledge of artificial intelligence to a civilization that didn't benefit from it because it got buried in the jungle not that long after, instead of having flying cars. To me, that's the measure. Oh, did they give you flying cart? No, your civilization was buried in the jungle. I probably wouldn't want to trust them, right? And so before, and then there's after the incursion, right? And so that's always what's to be worried about, right? Because I think too many people want to. Everybody's like it's all Return of the effing King, right? Everybody's waiting for Aragorn to show up. Where's pagan Jesus to save the day from monotheism's evils, right? Or whatever existential hero from your situation, right? And so we will end up glorifying certain peoples, but there is a wealth of a good from a time of Hyperborea that needs to be discerned, and that needs to come to light. And yeah, it'll come in many ways. And the pagan awakening in the north is a preceding to that, right? So it'll take some time because a lot of people are still kind of playing with Viking Age. Maybe they're committing to the Bronze Age when our historical records first start, but it's getting the gap between the Bronze Age and pre-Ice Age that counts, and that just depends on the argument that people want to have about the quote origin of species at that point, right?
Yeah.
But this is about bridging that gap because there was an ice wall in the north, and the Hyperboreans brought down people to start new bloodlines.
Yeah, exactly. I do remember a lot of felines as seeders there, a lot of other type of, as you said, founder races that were not only playing, let's say, with the genetics at hominid level, yet also at other type of species level, where later on led to the breeding of many of the animals that we have right now here on Earth. It's like kind of what they're doing in Antarctica. It's very much as reverse engineering what they were doing at that time in Hyperborea, which all these banks, like seed banks and so forth.
Right.
But of course, yet in other ways. So, like summarizing what I feel is that we have this huge divine justice call, represented through many of these feline beings, dragon beings, which are calling in for to truth, which are calling into coherence, and to embody that through our crystalline nature, being so crystal clear that we're capable to reflect light as rainbow, which is very much related to our rainbow body, which is our plasma body. A lot of archives that were stored on ice and water are now, and that are archaic, are now being awakened from its stasis or dormant state, and that is automatically being reflected in our own DNA. The thing is that if we don't clear our water, our inner water as emotions and as literal water into its hydronium state, then all those transmissions will be bringing in other type of dormant genes, like weird things, instead of all those primordial and highly advanced, highly intelligent genes that are, again, that were dormant in our DNA and that are now being called to be reactivated, bringing in our galactic essence. So it's like, I don't know, I was even like the multidimensional skills are opening up so much. I was even earlier talking to a client and I was seeing that needed state of opening portals through mirrors, like that level, that level of upgrade. So it's coming, it's coming at arcs, like arcs are coming, coming, like emerging from the surface, that were anchored under the ocean, that are underground, that are to be reactivated.
You
Spaceships.
said they were arcs, right? Now,
Yes,
do you mean boats? You mean arc
spaceships,
reactors? Like,
as the spaceships.
okay, gotcha. Um, the structure that looks like the Millennium Falcon, it looks like it's stone, but it looks like it's shaped. We're not talking about that being one of them, are we?
The Falcon.
It looks like a hand, like the Millennium
Oh,
Falcon from Star Wars, right? But it looks like it's kind of like the shape of a hand. It's a piece of stone in the bottom of
yeah.
the ocean. I forget the name of it. It's named after the part of the waters that it's in.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, the ones that I refer to are ovoid, like kind of oval,
Okay.
like yeah, like ovals, kind of
Okay.
egg-like
Okay.
spaceships.
All right.
And these are a lot. There are a lot of those, but again, the other ones have other shapes, but these are very much like oval, egg-like spaceships.
Okay.
um, and interestingly enough, somehow they are calling in, remember the arcs that were present in ancient temples, like for instance the Egyptians would have depictions of, like, let's say a house, and then auras inside that house, and then a serpent around, which represent the plasma coming from the power source, well, they would be referring to the power source engine that would be in Horus' arc, and that he would bring from his arc or spaceship to the temple, because those spaceships have they share their consciousness. They are like one mind. It's like the movie Avatar, where you put your, like your tail, and you interweave it with the trees or the animals or so forth.
Yeah.
It's that level of technology. So they would bring their power source in their spaceship to the temple, so that the temple would have his consciousness and would be imprinting its codes, throughout the space and throughout that land and so forth. So now those arcs are also like etherically, energetically coming through the Planck plasma field and calling in to be reconfigured in a very specific way, and it will be. This is why also a lot of people have been going to Egypt, not only to retrieve their soul memories, but because these codes are coming through and they need to be like configured through a primordial network, Zep Tepi level, heaven on earth level.
All right. I want to say that I've heard that term before, but refresh my memory on it. Zep Tepi, right?
Yes.
I know I've heard that before somewhere.
Yeah, Zep Tepi is the golden age, prior to Chem. It's connected to Chem.
Okay.
And Kemet.
Yeah.
Yet it's prior, it's known as heaven on earth. And then it was that translation of Sekhmet being angry, which represents the sun.
Okay.
Solar flares, then the gods, Neteru, have to leave Earth for protection. Things happen. You can relate it to the Dryas, and then they, after all the movement, they come back, but they come back through Mat. They create Mat to separate heaven from earth, and then we have Nut, Geb, so forth. I'm sorry, it's separated by Shu, but they bring Mat for justice, for balance, harmony, and so forth. And then 40 principles or laws of Mat are created, which is a huge code. It's related to the 40 that, remember that the tree of life of the Kabbalah has 10 sephiras or 10 spheres. So then you have 10 north, 10 east, 10 south, 10 west.
Yep.
40. So they create the 40 spheres that project as the 4 worlds that need to be sustained in harmony for the gods, for the moment, in order to bring back again gods or heaven to earth. And that's the upgrade of the upgrade of the DNA. When that happens, heaven and earth comes back.
This is where, I'm going to advocate for the original Galactic sciences. I'm novicely cracking into it now, but things like that Sephiroth, the Galactic tree of life, it'll be that tree that will be part of making the paradise. It'll be, this is the biospherical regenesis.
Well, now that you say that, it also brings me to the Katara grid, which is the 12th tree of life, the 12th node tree of life.
Yes. It goes from the 10. Well, it's like the 9 node tree to the 12 node tree. It's not, it's kind of an implied 10 the way it works because it's linked, right? And yeah, it's people get it confused because even with Kabbalah, you know, they give you the Sephiroth, they give you the Kliphoth, and so there's your two trees. Pick the right tree. Obviously, it's just like, no, they're both the wrong tree.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll tell you something. Now, if you bring that to the 12 Earth wormholes, now you get how that grid needs to be restored. You know, aligning the wormholes perfectly in a clear projection all the way from the black hole to the surface, you know, and then we will be bringing back again high frequencies, beings that want to come through and that hadn't been able due to the distortion and the frequency that is coming from those.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and it's up to us to be self-actualized, so that way we are greeting our interdimensional neighbors as equals.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, that's one of the 40 principles of Ma'at, which is uh, don't dare, well, in other words, of course, but don't you even dare to take a flower from your neighbor's garden, you know, or it's more in a bit more beautiful way. It's like treat with respect even the flower from your neighbor's garden.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said it through the two poles, you know, like the hardcore and the gentle one. But anyway, it's the same message.
Right. Yeah, so all that makes sense to me, and that's all, you know, that's all pre-dynastic, because it's you're you know, because it's pre-Kemet. It's whatever the civilization that was there that Kemet founded upon, and then you had, so like we're talking about like the Sphinx and the pyramid or whatever would have been built by them, right? Because this is where we're talking about the water damage that happened to those structures, according to the new discoveries.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I'm just making sure I'm getting the time frame of things, and asking myself, so the you know, because the city effectively was there, and but it was not Kemet, even, and
Yeah.
but most of those buildings were adopted by the pharaohs when the dynastic system came into play after the cataclysms of the Younger Dryas period.
Yes.
That makes
Well,
perfect sense. Yeah.
yes, yes. And well, you know, a lot of people uh, ask themselves how can, you know, like all the ancient temples of the Ptolemaic state, for instance, Dendera, show that the melted steps, you know, which is like is consistent to a high technology, like a very advanced technology. Like if you're melting steps, you know, inside of a temple, what type of temperature you were dealing with inside of a temple, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, but then again, it was already what seems to be very sandy at that moment. You know, even when they talk about the dreams that the pharaoh Hafra, who named the second pyramid after his name, he had these dreams about the Sphinx communicating with him and telling, "Hey, unearth me. You know, I'm here." You know, so it was already under the sun when he was there.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
all those dynasties were already there after, you know, the last the younger Dryas.
Well, yeah, I think, and I think that, like I mentioned earlier when we're talking about you know, the whole thing with Sekhmet, the whole thing with the relationship to to Freya in the War of the Gods, right? So, the War of the Gods is much more of a short, like, oral tradition, like, one story, and there's citations to that story in other poems. But in the grander sense, and I need to get up on my darn Sanskrit based literature, you've got the War of the Gods, the Bhagavad Gita, where you get the sense that, wait, are we talking about nuclear war, right? And so I think that we're looking at, if there was a World War III of its day, then this pre-Commission civilization would have obviously been right in the ballpark of events happening in that region.
Yeah.
You don't have a war that big and your neighbors don't end up getting involved. You just don't.
Well, again, like, even now that you're talking about, like, when you go to the Giza Plateau, you will see traces of granite spread all over the plateau, as huge warlike results, of explosions and things hitting the pyramid and so forth. But yeah, speaking of felines.
Yes.
Felines on the house. Yeah. So
I should have grabbed my iguana. We could have the two of them duke it out right here.
yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah. For the next time, for sure. Oh, by the way, I do love, like, yeah, you made me remember about a beautiful connection that I had with crocodile. Like, heart to heart connection. I think they're super magical beings, super magical. They hold very important codes.
Crocodiles.
Crocodiles and iguanas, and like the serpents. All these, every species, for me, it's sacred.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, that's why so many have their god associations. The cobra is directly associated with Shiva, as much as it's associated with Apophis, right? So there's an evil aspect of the cobra, and one of the most benevolent aspects of the cobra you could possibly ask for, right? It's all very interesting, and, like, because reptiles are kind of funny. I'm sure there's things that they remember in particular, and they obviously they get used to you, but it's like, if they aren't familiar with how you're behaving, they may forget that they know you, and get, like, like, my boy gets hissy with just like, what? I've done this 50 bazillion times. Oh, you're in heat, obviously, right? Like, or something, or he just doesn't like the way I barged in the room and I put him on edge, even though he's chill 99% of the time, right? Just, it's the reason why there's always that 1%. He might be in a bad mood for a quick second and nip me on the finger, right? Because he didn't know why my finger came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a study in how, reptilian behavior works. It's a study of an underlying function of what we call that reptile brainstem, which we simply call it that because it shares all the common basic brain traits with what you only pretty much see in reptiles, maybe even avians. But then it's all just nervous system control from there.
Yeah. Well, there is so much to explore in that topic. Perhaps we can leave it for the second part. Because there is so much regarding to that.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms anyway. Yeah. Because I did have another observation now that we were talking about some other ancient tech ideas like that, because I think it kind of plays in, because I also thought to myself, well, what if some of this stuff that they did, which also could have involved some of the ways they built stuff, was like, because I can imagine that they maybe had a lot of high tech stuff, but you know what? We have a lot of high tech stuff today. But when I go on a job site, sometimes I just got to work with a goddamn primitive jackhammer. And then there's tech all in between. So I'm almost thinking, some of the things that I see with these artifacts, like it's kind of like laser cutting.
Mm-hmm.
How would you make sense of that if you didn't have all the particulars for laser cutting that you were just going to give to all the people making all this stuff? Giant magnifying glasses. When you're
Yes.
not a jungle because your area has been cleared because it's all human occupied, there's not a bunch of trees in the way. High noon, you get to work and you get a thing and you're etching and you're master of your craft. You've built a whole like structure, not even complicated, but not impossible to fabricate with wood and stone. And you just get a mirror or glass, whatever, and reflect glass. And now you're drawing and you're laser cutting, right? And so,
yes.
If we can do that on a low tech level with just patience and the right materials, that's kind of like you're in between to like super stuff.
Yes, no, definitely. Like there have been many devices that like look like they were lasered. That they used laser to engrave them, to carve them. That will be very very cool to actually prove that scientifically. So I think that with the huge advancements that we are accomplishing nowadays, with all the studies that are being applied on these ancient artifacts, at some point soon we will be able to prove whatever type of technology was used to make them. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so
for
much
sure. I
for
think that this has been the full breadth of what I wanted to discuss. It's been almost 2 hours. This has been a very, very good show. Thank you.
Yes, I agree, and we could talk about many many more things, and we will.
We will.
Yes, we will for sure. So thank you so much for this reencounter, for this talk. I agree. It was super powerful. I can also read the comments of the people. They are very excited of everything that we shared. Thank you so
I'm
much.
following too. Thank you guys over on YssaH's end, and I just had my one buddy show up on my end. See there.
Well, more at some point. It's all it's all adding up. So
I'll get there. I'm in the 700 club right now.
yeah. Well, so talk to you soon. See you soon. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Thank you for your comments. And stay tuned. Very exciting week with events coming up. I will be sharing more on Monday. So see you all soon. And thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, YssaH.
Okay. Until next time. Who knew?